Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee, with my books and my reviews, and it looks as though the rain may be moving on for just a minute. It's been kind of coming and going all day, but I will take it. And I think it was like 100% chance of rain today and 100% chance of rain tomorrow. And I'm just like, yes, because I have recording I need to do. I have my little notebook and I have my calendar and I have quite a bit that I have to talk to you guys about. And today we are talking about Murder in the Soho Graveyard by Emily Organ. This is Emma Langley, Victorian Mystery number 3. And I picked up the first one, maybe about 6 months ago. It feels like it was like 6 months ago. It could have been a little longer. I'm not sure. But it is a Victorian murder mystery series. I would say it's not cozy, but it's also not like overwhelmingly mystery thriller either. And so I find it's a really good fit when I just want something fairly easy to read. Now, this one felt a little slow at times, but let's dive into the summary and we'll go from there. Put my notebook right there. A churchyard discovery, a shocking secret, a deadly confrontation. London, 1890, when the body of a wealthy widow is found in the neglected courtyard or graveyard of St. Anne's Church, Soho, Emma Langley and Penny Green soon discover her respectable facade concealed a web of bitter enemies. From a disgraced doctor stripped of his livelihood to a governess whose reputation was destroyed by lies, the victim, Miss Melbourne, left a trail of devastation in her wake. Then, Miss Melbourne's Belgravia mansion is consumed by a mysterious fire. Emma and Penny must race to decipher water-damaged papers salvaged from the ruins that could hold the key to the truth. But as anonymous threatening letters arrive warning them to abandon their investigation, the friends realize they're hunting someone who would kill again to protect their secret. In the shadow-filled streets of Victorian London, can Emma and Penny expose the murderer before they become the next victim? In an atmosphere of Victorian mystery that takes you from the crumbling graveyards of Soho to the grand squares of Belgravia, and will keep you reading late into the night. Sorry, my shoulder keeps hitting that, and I keep hearing it, so I don't know if you guys did. But it's about 320 pages in the Kindle edition. It expected publication September 25th of 2025, so I am going to try to release this one on the day of its publication. When I have that opportunity, I do try to do it. And if I don't get that opportunity, then sometimes I try to schedule it as close to publication as I can. And so with this one, I do think I have that opportunity. Now, there was also, let me just real quick, I'm going to click on this author's name, Emily Organ. Now, she has written quite a few books, and she loves her lady sleuths. I would not say these are not what I would call Sherlock Holmes-esque. They're not that deep, but yet I do like that she tends to have fairly good, strong female protagonists. And so Penny Green, who does appear in this book and is kind of the partner to Emma Langley, Penny Green has her own Victorian mystery series that has what looks to be about 12 books herself. So just kind of putting that out there. But Emma Langley has her own as well. And so just clicking on those, there's only 3 so far. There's the Whitechapel Widow, which I did cover. There is the Poison Puzzle, which I do believe I missed. And then a Murder in the Soho Graveyard, which I am covering right now. I do not think you have to read the other 2 to understand what is going on. I think you'll get a little bit of information, but if you were going to read one, I'd probably recommend The Whitechapel Widow, simply because we do meet Emma Langley. We get to find out who she is and kind of how she comes into this sleuthing business. But we're going to just go ahead and talk about Murder in the Soho Graveyard. And for some reason, every time I would go to pick up this book or go to write something down about this book, because I do like to make a couple little notes every once in a while, especially when I have quite a few to record, I kept writing Soho Garden, and I don't know why. I mean, I guess I don't know. I had to fix it a couple of times because I kept writing GAR, and I'm like, no, GRA for graveyard, not garden. But this is number 3, and so we are talking about that. And we are back with Emma, Penny, and Penny's husband James, who is an inspector with, it seems like, Scotland Yard, local police. And the body of Miss Melbourne was found by Miss Clifton. And there's quite a few mysterious circumstances around that as well, because Miss Clifton was kind of making her way. She is somebody who surveys old graveyards to establish and figure out if they can be turned into, I guess, usable property like playgrounds or gardens or such, where people could walk around. And she meets up with Emma and Penny at one point to kind of talk about it a little bit, and she's like, yeah, this particular park that we're in right now was one of those types of areas where, you know, the bodies are still under there, but because it was in such, I guess, disuse, that they have turned it into a new, more or less, green space again. So I guess she was going to do that. And so on this particular day, when she is going to St. Anne's graveyard to go, I guess, survey it, that's when she finds the body of Miss Melbourne. And I don't believe at this particular time we know much about Miss Melbourne or her connection to Claire Clifton, but pretty soon Clara is nervous that she thinks the inspectors are trying to pin this murder on her, because she's the one who found the body, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. I need somebody to help me. And so that's one of the reasons that Emma and Penny are so invested in this particular case, is right off the bat, they don't believe Clara has really much to do with this. So they're like, okay, well, we'll look into it because, it seems as though the inspectors may be looking in the wrong direction. We've solved a few cases in the past. Maybe we can unravel a little bit of this for you and get them off your back. So that's kind of how things start, with Emma and Penny looking into it a little bit deeper and interviewing some of their potential suspects. One of them happens to be a doctor that was sued by Miss Melbourne. Now, according to the story that was told, Miss Melbourne had, I believe, a nephew, something like that, and apparently the doctor could not save him. Even he kind of even warned them ahead of time, I don't think he can be saved. He had some sort of grievous head injury. Well, then Miss Melbourne sues the doctor, I guess, for negligence, and the doctor has his career ruined. And so something else happens where Miss Melbourne fires or disgraces a governess in some way or another. And now this governess is having a hard time also getting another job because she's not, I guess, been spoken of well by people in the higher echelons. So sorry. I think I hope I'm not getting a little sick, but I just feel a little bit of a tickle, or it may just be allergies. I had allergies all through the week that I was in Tennessee. Could not shake them. Then I finally get back home, they're like gone. But I still think I have a little bit of sinus issue going on. So it begins to really, the plot's starting to thicken, because where Miss Melbourne was fairly well thought of in society, they're starting to see a darker picture about her. They are not seeing this, I guess, polished lady, but rather someone who was fairly kind of vindictive and bitter, and maybe there are some enemies, potentially, who, clearly there's at least one who was willing to kill to get her out of there. So I thought it was well done. I thought it was engaging. It is not going to be overly imaginative, and it's not going to be reinventing anything with regards to Victorian murder mysteries. However, it's still very engaging, and the characters are fun. They are very much, in my opinion, like a female version of Sherlock and Watson. There's one that's a little bit more, I guess, well versed in it, and I guess that's Penny Green, who of course has 12 books of her own. And then there's Emma Langley, who, even though she's kind of new to it, she almost seems kind of like an old hat at it too. It just seems to really come to her kind of naturally, but they work together very well in order to narrow down their suspects. And then, whoops, now one of those suspects is also murdered. So who could it be? Oh no. Then, of course, the house gets burned down, and you're like, well, man, somebody really, really wants to make sure we can't figure anything out. So it is got a lot going on. It's not, like I said, it's not going to be on the edge of your seat like thriller. We don't have bullets whizzing over our head, because there's just like, that's just not happening. However, are they perhaps chased or shadows lurking or things of that nature? Yes, I mean, of course, clearly. I'm just trying to think, was there anything else? And I am just kind of seeing they have to decipher. Yeah, we read all that part. We got all that part. I'm trying to see if anybody says anything that doesn't spoil that I want to share, because every once in a while people have some fantastic insight that I kind of either miss or almost forget to mention until I read it from their perspective. So I love to be able to, at this time, kind of review some of the other reviews to see what they're saying. And I also find that's a very fun way to kind of see what other people find is engaging or important, or why this person gave a 5-star where this person only gave a 2. Because I often find that some people who give 2 stars are like, oh, well, this wasn't for me. And I'm like, well, does that mean like the book was written badly? And oftentimes it's just like they don't really expound upon it. Or someone who gives a 5-star, it's like, I love this book, and it's like, but why did you love this book? I'd like some more information on why you love that book. So I love when people take the time to actually put thoughts into their reviews for others to be able to look at, like I'm doing right now, because I give it 4 stars. It's an engaging book. There are lots of secrets. There are lots of mysteries to solve. And I think Penny and Emma are a great duo. Again, we're not reinventing this genre, nor are we really getting anything new. So it's hard for me to want to give it 5 stars when, like, it feels like what you could call a canned murder mystery. Like, here's all the basic elements of a murder mystery. There you go. It's going to be entertaining, but it's not going to be on any bestsellers list, potentially. And it absolutely is going to find its fans, because here I am. I'm one of them. I enjoy this kind of book. But all that to be said is, going back to this murder in the Soho graveyard, it does have that little bit of atmospheric, I guess you could say Jack the Ripper-esque London vibes. You know, the fog in the streets. Things are a little dirty and a little grimy in some areas. We go from Soho to Belgravia, and so it's kind of like going from almost slums to like the more elite areas. So we are kind of going back and forth in those areas. We've got the smoky, dark alleyways. Great, great atmosphere for this book. So where it's not, I mean, it's certainly not a horror book, but where it's mysterious, it's not supernatural in any ways. I really love when a book takes a supernatural turn. In my personal opinion, I think we need more ghosts involved in some of these books. I would love if maybe they just happened to run across a couple ghosts at one point that helped them solve a case, but maybe she doesn't really write in the supernatural realm, and that's fine. I do think I want to go back and read the other one, which is the Poison. Is it the Poison Paradox? The Poison something. Because that one, the Poison Puzzle, it looked really good. Now, it looks like all three of these were published in 2025. So, man, she has either had them ready, like ready and on deck, or something. I don't really know. But that's crazy. But so this one, apparently, the Poison Puzzle, is when Emma Langley is discovering something mysterious about her late husband's diary. I knew that there was going to be potentially something with that after reading the first one, so I think I'm going to potentially read that one. I know I'm reading it out of order. I know that's my bad, but these ladies are very engaging. And like I said, it's kind of a little bit of a female Sherlock Holmes and Watson-esque vibe. They just get along so fantastically, and every once in a while Penny has to bring along like her toddler Thomas and her little daughter, who's like kind of an infant at this point. I mean, she doesn't take them on like interviewing people, but they'll be walking through a park, and then like Thomas will be like kicking his legs or doing something, and so you're like, oh yeah, these are like working ladies in this 1890s time frame who maybe they shouldn't be working on doing these cases, but it's really fun to see them with this sort of level of gumption and taking the lead as they're trying to help other women out of their pickle. But with all of that being said, it's pretty fun. And it is considered mystery, and this is certainly one that I considered historical fiction and historical mystery, because you're taking a real place and with some basically real elements, and then you're just putting in some fictional characters to explore that real place. Victorian London is a real place. So when I was talking about Steeped in Blood, which is number 2 of Hafsa Faisal's series, and it's called itself historical fiction, I had a hard time believing that, because to me historical fiction again takes place potentially in a real place in a real time period with perhaps fake characters or fictional characters. And I mean, could there potentially have been some ladies similar to Emma and Penny? I would love to think that perhaps there were, but I won't hold my breath if history can't find them. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here and let you all decide if this is a book you want to add to your to-be read list. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. I hope you have a great one. Bye.